The only state in the country with a 5-year average of 100% completion in soybean planting for this week in the year is Nebraska. The latest crop progress report shows this state's farmers have planted only 95% of their beans. The sole state finished is Michigan. With high rainfall amounts before and after planting here, we talked with Nebraska Extension's Loren Giesler Tuesday to learn what diseases could be appearing in the state's fields.
Really the same thing, Jeff, in the last few weeks. We're still dealing with seedling disease issues. We are starting to see a little bit more with the warmer temperatures a couple weeks ago and now, where we had some rhizoctonia showing up. So still seedling disease issues for the most part though. Still really encouraging guys to make sure they're identifying those correctly, and if they're replanting, make sure they're using treated seed.
How many or how much trouble did that extra rainfall cause during the spring and during that planting season?
All this rain has just been really chaotic, as everybody knows, looking at their planting situations, their replants. That high moisture really favored all of our pythiums and phytophthora like we talked about before, and that's what we're seeing really our main cause in most of our fields where they've had water or standing water. Any low areas, even our fine textured fields with fine textured soils where they're at saturated capacity for extended period of times with the high moisture, that's where we're seeing mostly pythium. But just keep in mind that they can have phytophthora in those too.
The grower goes out to the field to scout. What do they need to look for in plants to find trouble?
Well, the biggest thing is they're going to see uneven stands, and they're going to see some changes in the plants as far as height. With that, a lot of times they're going to see dead plants. If they're seeing dead plants or plants that have died after emergence, that's where it's critical to look at those stems and see if they have that dark discoloration at the base of the plant working its way up. That's going to be phytophthora. Just keep in mind it's going to be extending above that purple color at the stem we can see with some of our varieties as a characteristic. It'll be above that and it'll go on up. So right now, a lot of fields we're in the several leaf stage, so they should be able to see that if they're dealing with phytophthora. Once we get past about the 5-leaf stage in our field, then really phytophthora is the main one that we're dealing with. We can see rhizoctonia, but it's not going to kill that plant at that stage. So if they've got a stand and it's up, and after that 5-leaf for sure, that's where you're going to be dealing with phytophthora.
Even in the replant situation, could those still be a problem?
Absolutely. So in some of these situations where we're in with the forecast where we've got heavy rains at different times real sporadically this year, if they've had any problems at all, I would highly recommend a seed treatment if they're looking at replanting.
Long-term management scenarios or options for fields with these problems?
Best thing, make sure you're identifying it correctly so you know what's in the soil in that field. We can kind of assume pythiums out there in most of them, but if they're dealing with phytophthora, that's a little more special case where they need to know that's what they're dealing with, so they match that up treatment-wise. And that's the main one that we really change treatments on. We talk about rhizoctonia being one, but a lot of our seed treatment combinations now have a strobilurin or sidaxane or something in there that's a really good rhizoctonia product. So that would be the other one. But just keep notes, make sure you know what you're dealing with. And again, if you're still trying to get something in the ground, unfortunately this time of year, but I would use a seed treatment.
What about in those early planted fields, Loren, that might be more advanced? What should producers be aware of?
Well, if they're beyond that point where they've got a good stand, right now we could start to see, our females from soybean cyst nematode on the roots. So if they're out looking at a field, if they see some unevenness and they're doing some scouting and they dig some plants up, they want to take a careful look and look for cyst nematode. That would be another one, and that's probably the next thing at this point. We'll have some bacterial diseases with all the rain. Not going to be too much worried about those for management, but those would be our main ones. So our seedling diseases, cyst nematode coming in now, you may not see any symptoms. High moisture availability a lot of times leads to no symptom with cyst nematode, but if you're out digging around and you pull any plants, that's another thing just to keep your eye out for.
We'll link to more information on soybean diseases and soybean cyst nematode on the Market Journal website.